All right, so back in the saddle, or I guess what, back behind the helm here. Pardon me being a little sniffly. It's the heat thrown off from the salsa there. Now, something I did want to show off from the last part of the workshop. You all came up with interesting names, and in fact, I want to explore those with you. And similar to what Zulerpai said, there is a tavern naming generator in the Dungeon Master's Guide. And it's kind of the same thing but different. If we come down here to... There we go. Oh. The tavern name generator is on page 113. In Ghosts of Saltmarsh, there is something similar with ship names. And so, you know, if you, for some reason, didn't have a name for the ship that you want to create, you could use the tavern generator, or you could use the ship name generator. You know, you all offered some interesting names. Let me scroll back up here. So we had the Bellowing Ram. Was that one out of here? No, not offhand that I see anyway. So Zulerpai used that as an example. Bridget, says Jensen. Shukun offered Lostoff. Did I pronounce that correctly? If so, why Lostoff? Giants are sometimes called tiny, so maybe Bridget Esquire. Well, hey, we had our Loxodon who is named Tiny. I mean, maybe it was a vanity upgrade. The battering ram is a representation of her trunk or something. And yeah, you know what? Sometimes you get ships that are the second, right? Bridget 2. Or something along those lines. It could have been named after the original captain or the original sponsor of the ship who built it. It could be named after, who knows? Maybe the name isn't even comprehensible. It's just sort of a series of streaks on the side in a language that no one can understand, even if people use comprehend languages on it. And Shukun also offered the Kilberchin? Kilbarchan? What are these names meaning to you here? Oh, Bellowing Ram was your own idea? Okay, Zulerpai. It sounded neat. Hey, that could be the case. And this builds to the lore. Kilberchin. And in this case, let's say that it's named Kilberchin. Was that a person? Is that the location? Is that a part of the forbidden lore or the history of the ship? There's a lot that a name, just a name alone, can unlock. And yet, Shukun, what if it baffles even Eyes of the Runekeeper? What would you do then? And so everyone, you know, everyone just calls the ship Marks because the name looks like a series of marks, but no one understands it. So it has a proper name, but it could also just have, you know, a side name, a nickname. A ship with a curse as a name, pronounce it, and you get amnesia for a day. And thereby you forget the name of the ship. You're doomed to repeat yourself over and over. Zulerpai, you are a mad genius. So, you know, we have these naming conventions. If we did want to go with Zulerpai's suggestion or the inspiration found in Ghosts of Saltmarsh, let's roll 2d20 and find out. If we use the tavern generator It could be called the 1312, which, hey, a date itself could be interesting. The 1312 would be the Roaring Spirit. If we wanted to try the Ghost of Saltmarsh, or we could even just keep the same result of 1312. I mean, a random roll is a random roll. We're just translating across two books. In Ghost of Saltmarsh, 1312 would be the Misty Prince. Either of these could be excellent prompts for the boat, especially given the nature. If this was carrying warriors or carries on the warrior spirit, especially if it kind of eats people's souls. Was the spirit named Kilberchin, or was it named? Was the Misty Prince, Lostoff? Lostoff the Prince, or Prince Lostoff. For some reason, he got the nickname of Misty Prince. Or it was just called Prince Lostoff, and it's misty because of a magical or a quasi-magical or some other effect that creates this kind of haze. Pardon. A ship with a curse is... Okay, that definitely sounds evil. But what kind of evil? It's a self-preservation technique. I guess you could see it as evil because you're modifying people's memories. But the ship seems to... If we went with that, the ship could be trying to protect itself or to keep people from gaining access to the forbidden lore. And maybe, if we go to paint, let's we could do a little experimenting here. All right, so we have the hull of the ship. Isn't this a beautiful rendition of a ship? What if this was... It could be Lady of the Mist. In our own human culture, we tend to default that our ships are female. We did roll for a male. We did roll for a male Goliath as what is not the animal spirit, but what is the humanoid spirit of the ship. But that doesn't mean it can't be a feminine ship by name, if not just by appearance or sternness. Just things to think about too. I mean, we even had things like the Edmund Fitzgerald, and that was definitely named after a guy. That was probably referred to as a she and as the ship, not just by the name of the ship. And so, by the way, this is something fun. Oh, Forget Me Not, which is the secret curse. So Zulerpai, let's play around with that, right? So here's the side of our ship. And let's see. I don't know if any of you out there are colorblind. Let's use blue instead, just to be safe. Hey, I don't judge, says Jensen. Hey. Let's say that the ship's name was the Forget-Me-Not. Now, what you as a DM can do, right, you write it out, and then you come back through with an eraser. And we do this. actually. And so now we have, going back to our pencil tool here. Oh, come on. Come on. And so these are the mystic runes. Now, I mean, looking at this, you might be able to broadly see Forget Me Not spelled out. But if you get what I'm going for here, you know the name, and you erase things or you made things stylish enough that it could require interpretation. And you just sort of leave it out there for your party to try and translate. But of course, you know, as soon as they do, they will forget. And they'll forget not just the name, but the last 24 hours. Also, by the way, Zuler Pie, what's interesting, if the name of the vessel was Forget Me Not, that could play into the fact that it not only has possession of forbidden lore, but it has a perfect memory. Hello, I try. Welcome. And that's right. Common doesn't mean English. This could be in Giant. And so it would look differently. In fact, what you can do, you know, if you go to the player's handbook here, they have some examples in Dwarvish script, or Elvish script, or Draconic script. You could try writing it out in English with those letters, and then going through and making them look like runes, or make up your own. But we can see that you know, a pattern could be made, and to help bridge the gap, and to try and bridge the gap, then, because to expect your players to know the suggested Elven alphabet as compared to English letters in the player's handbook might seem a little unreasonable. This is why we have investigation checks, especially if someone aboard the ship can speak that language. And so because of this, you know, this could be the true name of the ship. And if we're getting into true name magic, that I mean, that could go into deals with devils or demons. Also, is we're talking about the original captain perhaps entered into such a deal and is now serving out purgatory as the ship or as a part of it. In Klingon or Dothraki, because you can find Dothraki as a language, as a full language. English, sarcasm, and some languages I made up. Well, Shukan, cheers to you for that. But these are ways that you can have fun, and especially with the concept that we developed here, by giving our ship these NPC statistics out of the roll charts that you can find in the Dungeon Master's Guide. And you know what? If you go through this process and you say, you know what, there's too much here, or something, you're having some trouble connecting two aspects, erase them. We went through a full exercise in providing you prompts to think about the ship's history, its present, what it could be doing in the future. Why was it made by whom? What does it resemble? What's a notable feature about it? What's something people are going to remember? You know, is it finicky with crew members? Does it not get along well with other ships? Text, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome aboard. You know, through this process, you may not like the bard stuff that they had here, and that's fine. You know, through the particular bardic your masterwork, but by doing things like the dueling fighting style off of assigning it our randomly rolled class and I was gonna say job for a second. That's Final Fantasy. Our class and subclass. This is helping to give us some ideas. How can we take the base ship in Ghosts of Saltmarsh and make it ours, while still keeping it generally what it's presented as? And so, if you recall, we decided that a sailing ship would be appropriate. And there are some plans for a sailing ship above, but with a couple modifications. The dueling style might mean that we can have a ballista, but if we really want to fight, it seems like this almost museum-style vessel wants to put in work with its ram, which can deal more damage than normal. And so that would lend itself, right, if we're thinking about the purpose of the ship, right? It was an urchin, you know, by background, so it was shunned, or it no longer has its parents, be that the forest that the wood came from, the mines that the metal came from, the shipwright that designed it, the laborers, the community, the race, whatever, could be gone, or simply it's an urchin because it was part of, you know, like the Titanic and the Olympia. Oh shoot, the Titanic was one of 3 ships. One of them, and only one of them didn't sink. One of them was a hospital. It was converted to be a hospital ship in World War II, I believe. The Britannica, okay. But there was another one. I thought it was like it was the Titanic, the Britannica, and the Olympia. Am I correct in that? And so it could have been that, and it lost its sibling ships, or it was made from the remains of 2 other ships that were kind of put together, right? Maybe if we're talking about it's a memorial ship about a great battle. Maybe many different aspects of different ships were cobbled together by good shipwrights. And so it's an urchin in so much that it doesn't have parents because it's made from them. Maybe it's from a different dimension. Yeah, we were talking that the ship could have come from the Feywild. If the RNG result is not good, we'll take a mulligan. Hey, I didn't mind the RNG results either, Zulerpai. I wanted to expand on your example to show ways that you can do something fun or interesting. I have not played World of Warcraft text, so I can't say that I am. You know, I have nothing against it. It doesn't personally offend me. I play Final Fantasy 14, so I played 11 before that. I'm definitely involved with MMOs. But if you are, and I hope it turns out to be a great service. And I mean, there's a lot of buzz and hype around it. So I hope that if you're gonna make the leap, it'll provide you entertainment and a fulfilling way to spend your time with others. Now we're gonna come back here because we will fill out crew member names, or other aspects of the ship or the crew. But before that, I want to scroll back up to the ship upgrades. Because we can take the stat line of a sailing ship. Right? Ceilings, doors, footlockers. Some basic, some stat stuff. Here's an example crew. A captain, 4 other officers, and 25 sailors. Now, we went with all 6 officers for the purposes of exploring those roles in Saltmarsh. So we would actually have the captain and 5 officers, and then we would have 24 sailors as well. And we could come up with a very quick crew if we wanted to. In this case, we'd have a sailing ship, but we're giving it the priest, or it's priest by stat block. It doesn't have to be a cleric of some kind, or you have to use that NPC. We're simply saying that we have a surgeon, and we have also traded in our mangonel for a naval ram. And we look at the stat block here. So 30 crew, 20 passengers if we wish to carry them. Cargo capacity, our travel pace. And all of this, we're finding kind of the core hull or the build of the ship. And now let's tweak it and personalize it. Hey, Hypnotic. I hope that you're feeling well and you're having a better night. Welcome to you. Our actions, these are the things that we can do. Now, of course, we're replacing Ballista with we have the ram, but in place of where the mangonel would be, we can put something like a crane. Our stats we can play around with, and as a DM, if I'm sitting down with you as my players and we did an exercise like this and say, all right, so we have our ship is built in the spirit of a Goliath bard. Well, that means that we could, probably boost up something. Maybe we boost up the cargo capacity by another 20 tons, right? Because Goliaths have powerful build. They can haul more. The College of Swords Bard inspired us, especially with the dueling type, to go for the naval ram and make it more of an assault ship. And the College of Swords Bards get speed boosts as well. So going for the faster 5 miles per hour travel pace as opposed to the 4 of the warship would make sense. And in fact, if it came up and we're sort of hemming and hawing, because communication is key over this, we could even say, you know what? It's 6 miles an hour. But if we go 6 miles an hour, I'm going to reduce your cargo capacity to 80 tons. Is that fair? That could be fair. It's really up to the group to decide as we're going through this, and we're drawing on the inspiration that we generated from before from our ship concept. And you may sit down with a group that hasn't gone through an NPC style character creation for the ship and simply say, what looks good? And now let's build from there. Or your DM might say, I'll give you one upgrade, one magical upgrade, or a superior upgrade, and then I will allow you to request 2 different things change. And we'll talk about, is it trading hit points for hit points? Is it trading speed for something else? Pardon. Maybe it's the same, but instead of a 3-mast ship, it's a 4-mast ship. And so you could be out cargo space, or maybe not as much, but your operating expenses, which, by the way, you're going to have operating expenses because you have to pay your sailors. But your operating expenses go up. However, you're one of the quickest ships in the line, and maybe you could get more jobs done that way. Right? It's all a negotiation process, especially in something, we're understanding the base concept of a ship has, you know, its certain nautical values and hydrodynamic design. And now we're just kind of fiddling over the details. What does it mean if the ship's appearance is flamboyant or outlandish clothes as per an NPC? Well, that could very well mean that here's our sailing ship, and it has the Art Deco style, or it shows a bunch of warriors in combat. And maybe something that doesn't go noticed is every time someone dies aboard, if we're talking about the ship has this kind of mysterious, you know, quasi-supernatural aspect to it, what if everyone who dies aboard the ship then is kind of pushed as a relief to the exterior of the ship as a part of this ongoing great battle? Ooh. Maybe people who've died aboard the ship, like fighting for the ship, and people who've died against the ship. This is a very big ship, so a lot of people, especially over almost 30 years of service, could very well be hauntingly represented aboard this ship. And of course, this makes it our ship. It's special. You know, having these reliefs might make it more recognizable. And you know what? If we rolled up maybe more of a criminal or a charlatan or something stealthy or more chameleon-like, or it didn't have the appearance as it rolled, then, you know, it could be a flat black painted hull that's kept clear of debris. So it's just, it sails smoothly. It's still quick, very stealthy. But using the technique we did, and we're sticking with our rolls, these are elements that are building our ship from the mutual set of conditions that we had put forward. Less cargo for more speed. 6 miles an hour to feet per second is 8.8. Yeah, Shukan, so there's there are some ways to convert it. A very quick and dirty way of converting things is every 10 feet per round is 1 mile per hour. I mean, we're dealing with, you know, how many Fahrenheits to the gallon do we use in our imperial system? But a good, quick and dirty methodology is every 10 feet per round equals 1 mile per hour. The battles depicted on the ship are of actual battles on the ship. Oh, Shukan. That would definitely give this boat its memory, a history. And that might explain why the stains on the deck don't scrub out so easily either. So here are sample plans for a sailing ship as presented in this supplement. Here's our forecastle, our quarterdeck, main deck. And you'll see that these rooms are located on the main deck. So that is below where our ballista is mounted. This is below where our helm is located. Right? These stairs up here are these stairs up. But you can see here that this is the symbol for a door. Let me zoom in. Or I'm sorry, this line for the break. The doors, derp. The doors are here. And you can see our 3 masts are going down through the three decks. Right? Mast, fore and aft. Here on our main deck is our central. And you can see that they're still going through the deck here. Whoop. Ah, I went too far. I went too far. And with everything being labeled as it is, even if you're not familiar with parts of a sailing ship, boom. Here we go. Now, we're talking about a naval ram. In this case, it could be a figurehead instead of just sort of a below water extension of the keel of the ship. But officers' quarters, captain's quarters, and of course, you can open this up and you can play with this forever in Paint or Photoshop. As you have the general dimensions, you can even talk to your DM and say, hey, can we get an extra 10 feet of length on this ship? Sure, no cost. Or sure, and we can even add 10 more tons of cargo, but you're going to lose some speed because of whatever, increased drag or something. Have fun with the building process when you build your ship. Enjoy it and make sure that the innards are just as much a part of the ship as the skin. Or, you know, if we want to put the figurehead, the ram, aboard the ship. All right, guest cabin and brig, a hold, our armory. It's all out here for you. And you can see here, you see the difference between that and there's the warship. 2 ballista, 2 mangonels. Are more passenger friendly because we're hauling. We tend to haul more soldiers on a warship. Hey TJ, welcome. Oh, and Hypnotic Gamer, I forget if I answered the question. My night is going very well. Thank you very much. TJ, we were discussing the ships that formed up the kind of the family with the Titanic. It was the Titanic, the something, and the Britannica. Do you recall offhand? Because I think it was 3 ships that were produced. 2 of them sunk, and one of them kind of went on to serve its actual role. Haha, gotcha. You came in here to have fun with friends, and now you're on the spot. Was it the Olympia? I thought it was something like the Olympia. The Olympic. So the Titanic, and the Olympic is the one that was converted to a medical, from a cruise ship into a medical ship during World War II, right? And I think it was torpedoed. And if that's the case, then what? Britannica is the only one that went on to continue for its natural life, such as ships have them. His Majesty's ship Olympic. Unless I'm incorrect about what HMS stands for. That's what I presumed it was. RMS? So, Royal Majesty's ship? Kind of like how we have SS for what, State's ship? Oh, Royal Medical Ship is what it stands for. Got it. Google confirms. Roger, roger. All right, so we have a basic idea for our sailing ship. We're going through this roleplay exercise of let's hem and haw. I'm willing to give you all an interesting upgrade that could very well fit. That could very well fit the ship in some way. And let's review a couple of these superior ship upgrades. Some vessels possess extraordinary abilities, whether due to magic or superior artisanship. The upgrades below can replace a ship's existing components or provide a new element to augment a ship's abilities. Adding an upgrade costs 15,000 gold pieces and requires 1d4 weeks of work. And this could be something else, by the way. Resource management on a nautical campaign is huge. Do you want to spend 15,000 on a ship upgrade? Or do you need to pay your sailors? Or do you want to buy higher quality sailors than just commoners with 4 hit points? And that could be the case because it is deadly living on the waters, and especially if you run into another ship that has some of these upgrades. The Olympic was the lead ship in the class. We're learning stuff. Thank you. Hey, keep facts flowing. Any ship with a hull can gain one of the following upgrades. In some cases, an upgrade also provides a benefit to the ship's other components. So we can have a churning hull. I don't know if the churning hull is really something that fits the personality of the ship that we've developed. A death vessel. Crafted with materials harvested from the Shadowfell, this upgrade grants a ship an aura of dread. As an action, the ship can create a pulse of horrific energy. Every creature that is an enemy of the ship who is on board or within 210 feet of it must make a DC 14 Wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, a creature is frightened of the ship for 1 minute. On a successful save, the creature is immune to this ability for 24 hours. Once this ability is used, it can't be used again for 1d4 until 1d4 hours have passed. Well, if we were describing how this vessel is the kind of the final memories of people who've died in battle. So giving the hull upgrade, this death vessel upgrade, could make sense. Or upgrading the hull to this hull up to this. I don't want to be redundant. Anyway, you get what I'm saying. Frost-locked hull. I don't really see that as a part of the ship. I mean, it could be flamboyant or outlandish, but that's more of a manufacture, right? With not just because it's frosty, but because it has carved elements or the like. Now, it was brought up that this possibly could be a ship that has Feywild influence. In that case, we have Living Vessel. This vessel's hull was crafted in the Feywild under the direction of Master Eladrin... I bit my tongue. Ugh. Master Eladrin Shipwrights. It is a living plant, drawing sustenance from water and sunlight. Vines covered in thick leaves hang over its side, and the wood runs with fresh sap when damaged. The ship gains a +2 bonus to all constitution checks or saving throws. As long as the ship has at least 1 hit point, it regains 10 hit points every minute. So it can self-repair. I don't know, I mean, based on that description, not that, you know, we couldn't hem and haw back and forth about what flamboyant or outlandish means, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily, again, this is more of a thing of artifice, of culture, or of depicting something in particular. Now, I don't know, maybe you could say, well, if we could take the Shadowfell themed one, it doesn't have to be from the Shadowfell. Or what if we took the Feywild one, but what lends it to it is all the flowers? Well, if that's the case, then that might undermine the story that we've been kind of building, not that we have to stick to it, of this is a museum ship. There's these carvings, but the carvings might appear supernaturally every time someone dies. We could honestly just have a reinforced hull. However, I would probably say nay to this, because as we were developing the personality of the ship, the DM giveth with this charisma, but the DM also taketh away with a low con. And so I would be reluctant, especially right out the gate, to suddenly give you something that negates the weakness of the ship. And so with that too, I think Living Vessel would also not be viable, because the vessel just wouldn't have what it takes to be able to regenerate. I'm kind of liking Death Vessel. Vigilant Watch. A row of crystal orbs, each filled with viscous liquid and a beholder's eyeball, is mounted along the ship's hull. Invisible creatures are visible while on the ship or within 120 feet of it. That could be interesting. That certainly meets a lot of our qualifications. Flamboyant or outlandish clothes. In high charisma. It could dazzle, you know, with color or just this ostentatious display. That could lead into other things. What has the ship seen with these eyes? Right? It could turn invisible things visible. What has it seen? Or where do the eyes always seem to look unless you're directing them? Because the eyes could be drawn, right? The eyes are always pointing like compasses to the special place. How about Forget-Me-Nots? How about Forget-Me-Nots? Paintings similar to the Day of the Dead paintings. I don't know if I got the reference, Jensen. Oh, you're all right. Hey, have a good night. Thank you for hanging out with us, and you had some really cool ideas, Jensen. So I appreciate that. You spending time with us and just participating in the conversation. That's really awesome of you. So as I was trying to say early, I haven't settled on either the Drow or Half-Orc for the Morally Grey campaign. I was also thrown a possible third option, D&D-ified version of the Grady twins from The Shining. So you'd be piloting 2 characters? Bright and colorful, but death-themed? The ship's name is a curse in an arcane language. If you say it, you have amnesia for a day. Oh, piloting 1/2 of them. It could be cool. I guess there's more a lot of the unknown or where does this go? So there's a mystery as a player and I guess as your character. If you're separated from your twin and you want to return. Oh, gotcha. So combining color and death. If we're going for like a Day of the Dead, style, that could be very interesting. Because that does do a very good job of combining these 2 aspects. That would make it very ostentatious as well, very flamboyant, but still conveying this deathly, but conveying this sort of deathly, aspect of the hull. It does, Jensen. That's awesome of you for sharing that. The few of us that are still working on character options, we're throwing around ideas for connected characters. Oh, so someone else would play the other twin. I think it could allow for, it's an instant connection, obviously, so hopefully there's no, there won't be any backstabbing or whatnot. I mean, I guess not all siblings or twins get along. So I think Death Vessel could work out very well, especially themed along with what Jensen said. Or instead, if I as your DM said, well, what about movement upgrades? Clockwork oars. Using a combination of magic and clockwork, the oars on this ship require only 1 crew member to use them, pushing the button or lever that activates them. What if instead of clockwork, these could be if these were the ghosts of the people who died, and they're the ones who man the oars of the ship? That's kind of stepping sideways from the inspiration. And so you would have someone, a crew member or an officer, that would have command of the ghosts who are working the oars. Oh, TJ, there you go. That would be very interesting. Ever full sails. These billowing sails are woven from cloud stuff drawn from the elemental plane of air. Wind whips and whistles around them, allowing a ship to move with the speed of 60 feet regardless of direction relative to the wind. We did say, as a DM, I would have conceded, yes, it's a quicker ship. Would ever full sails work? Well, if wind is constantly whipping through them, that could also be, a part of whimsy. It could also be that the ship speaks loudly. And so it can be difficult if you're on deck to hear because the wind is constantly blowing in the sails. I can see that as a viable upgrade. Defiant sails. These sails glitter with a fine coat of mithril treated with abjuration magic. While the sails are unfurled, ranged weapon attacks made against the ship and anyone on board are made with disadvantage as a result of the sail's protective magic. This drawback doesn't apply if the attacker is aboard the ship. Well, given that our humanoid inspiration is that of a bard, especially a College of Swords bard, I can also see that through this random roll exercise where Defiance Sails could be an aspect of the ship. Dragon Sails. Dragon scales woven into these sails make them more resistant to damage. The sails gain a +3 bonus to AC, and they have resistance to a damage type based on the type of scales used to craft them, as shown in the Dragon Sails table. We have a dragonborn, a bronze dragonborn, who's more of a 3/4 human, 1/4 dragon mix, or dragonborn mix even. So perhaps we would have access to dragons. This doesn't seem quite as likely, especially given the various prompts and such that we've come up with. Offhand, I probably would take this one off the table for an automatic upgrade. Screaming Sail. Well, there we go. We have Speaks Loudly. Woven from the energy of captured wraiths and bound with the spirit of a banshee. These sails groan mournfully when they catch the wind. As an action, while within 5 feet of the sails, the ship's captain can cause the sails to unleash a howl. Oh, sure. We can pop open, so that'd be a Ravnica or a Tomb of Annihilation. If you're not sure offhand, roll exclamation point, just do exclamation point 1d20. If it's odds, we'll go Ravnica. If it's evens, we'll go Tomb of Annihilation. Odds. So we'll pop open a box of Ravnica for you, Tackler. Thank you. Every creature hostile to the ship who's on board or within 300 feet of it must succeed on a 14 wisdom saving throw, or they take 46 psychic damage and is frightened for a minute. Once this ability has been used, it can't be used again until 2d6. Screaming Sails are very powerful, especially if you consider that the recommendation for most crew members, let alone passengers, is a commoner, and commoners have 4 hit points and a +0 to wisdom. So 15, 16, well, I mean, you need a 14. So 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I don't know why I counted that way. But anyway, multiply that by 5. That's your percentile chance of passing this. And even if you min out on psychic damage, that's 4 damage to these people who have 4 hit points. So Screaming Sails would be very powerful. So for that, I think it'd be highly appropriate. I don't know offhand if I would make that one available unless it was part of like a ship upgrade. Like a crew upgrade, I'm sorry. Hey, Gareth, welcome. Speaking of ships and sailing, Gareth, hello. Or Scything Oars. Sharpened, magically reinforced oars make a vessel dangerous to approach. When the ship takes an action that moves with these oars, any creature or object in the water within 10 feet of it at any point of the move must make a DC 10 Dex saving throw, taking 2d6 slashing damage on a failed save or half as much on a successful. Well, we have a ship that is inspired off the College of Swords bard. I could see that happening. So I would open that up in that case. Let's see. We don't really have... We have Arcane Artillery because we did keep a Ballista. These are things that are more, it's your ammo or something. I don't think they're necessarily as thematic. Not that you couldn't get them if you really wanted. Figurehead upgrades. This could end up being the naval ram. And I'll get to that in a second, but because Tackler has to go to bed here soon, let's do a full pull of Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica real quick. and find out what Tackler has opened up. And in fact, Tackler, to keep with the theme of Ghosts of Saltmarsh, there are 6 officer positions here. And we're going to fill 4 of those with what you pull out of this box. And so I'd like you to tell me, as I reveal the figures, would they be a captain on your ship, a first mate, a bosun, which is more of like an engineer or sort of like the taskmaster, a quartermaster, which is kind of like the navigator, the ship surgeon, or the cook? And so let's begin. The first piece here is a fire fist. A fire fist. Fire fist is your first mate. All right, so he's the one who is sort of like the morale officer. Next up, we have a mind drinker vampire on a flying stand. A mind drinker vampire. Which officer position would he fill? Captain your ship, he never has to sleep, not even during the day? Maybe not. Some vampires could tolerate it. Next up, you have a druid of the old ways. A druid of the old ways. She's going to be your engineer, your bosun. She definitely looks like she can keep people in line. You know, that one plank is coming loose on the hull. Just, don't want horsehair in my food. Here I'm like, oh yeah, she could just like, you know, kick a plank back into place or something. And then lastly, Tackler, you have a Gruul Ogre, which is a large-sized piece. A Gruul Ogre. Surgeon, cook, or navigator? He's your cook? Tackler, never trust a skinny cook, and I assure you, this is not a skinny person. You take offense to that? That we should trust a skinny cook? I am a skinny cook. Oh, gosh, where did my marker go? Not for lack of trying, though, I assure you, I love food. I'll have to find my my permanent marker, but there you go. I wrote it in pen. I'm going to leave the stream up as I sleep to give you my view, but going to bed. Appreciate the chill stream. You're always welcome, Tracker. Or Tackler. I'm glad that the sound of my lilting voice could send you to bed. Guardian figurehead. This figure depicts an armored knight. As an action, the ship can activate the item, causing it to animate as an iron golem. Golem acts on the ship's turn when the captain uses one of the ship's actions. That could be cool. That could almost be like a suit of living armor as well, to represent represent some of the fallen. Red Dragon figurehead. There's not a huge dragon vibe with the ship. Storm Giant clutching a Thunderbolt. As an action, the ship can activate this item to create a 60-foot cone. Con saving throw or thunder damage. Ooh. Depending on how you want to roll that, the thunder damage might be extra effective against ships. Maybe. Bones of Endless Toil, by the way, could be a very interesting miscellaneous upgrade. The bones of ancient mysterious creatures festoon the ship. Potent runes crawl across these remains, emitting a sickly green radiance. When a humanoid dies aboard the ship, that creature must make a DC 12 Wisdom saving throw. On a successful save, it dies as normal. If it fails, it immediately rises as a zombie, obedient to the ship's captain. The zombie gains a working knowledge of the ship, allowing it to serve as a member of the crew. A number of creatures equal to the ship's creature capacity can be animated in this manner at any given time. That could be very interesting. Smuggler's Banner. Well, we do have a smuggler aboard. In fact, she's the first mate. And I believe we also have a charlatan? Maybe not on this crew. So it's a flag that changes allegiance. Could be interesting, but really only to the one character. So that might be kind of a weak one. Taskmaster's Drums. This 4-foot-tall bronze drum comes with a pair of iron mallets. A creature can activate the drums as an action, causing the hammers to float above the drum and strike it to produce a thundering rhythm. For the next minute, the ship gains one additional action, as long as it has at least one action. Once this item is used, it can't be activated again for 2d10 hours. It is loud. It does speak loudly. Could represent being hot-tempered. So could the Guardian Figurehead. I'm really digging the Bones of Endless Toil. Maybe the modified Banshee sails. But probably even more than that would be Death Vessel. I have a calming voice. Oh, thank you for saying so, Gareth. Yes, Tackler. I am. I actually have a ship in one of the games that I GM that has an animated figurehead. She's modeled after the captain's ship in... I'm on to you. I've read that series. I know what you're talking about, Gareth. By the way, Minddrinker Vampire with Bones of Endless Toil? Yes, please. The drums is similar to an idea we had the night you were exploring the ship Unearthed Arcana. Where, it was like a command to give an extra action to get everyone in line. I kind of want to go with the bones. Ugh. It was just flavor at that point, but I enjoy the idea of having a function. Well, Gareth, you know, I've always kid that the things that I run, because this has been happening ever since like 4th ed started. It's like all the content that I end up discussing with my players or running in my campaigns end up in printed content down the line. 4th edition was uncanny. We were doing stuff that ended up getting codified in printed books. So I swore Wizards of the Coast must have had a camera and a mic or something in the store. And so here we go, Gareth. Someone at Wizards saw the video and said, Gareth has an amazing idea, and we are going to make it happen in a printed book. So once more, we are super secret research tech. Unknowingly, but we know. For Wizards. Hi, Fi. You are welcome to continue lurking as much as you'd like. Now, if we have a ship like this, then, that does collect the dead, this could very well explain how we have a great old one, collector of mind blank people, as retainers and followers, and no one really questions it, and who's also the chef, as well as how would the ship accept children as the captain or first mate or bosun, even. And so I think that's a heavy RP consideration. That would also explain why it could have this flamboyant or outlandish style. Hey, Grimvex, welcome. Oh, for sure. I developed an entire ships and airships homebrew that was several pages long, a full year before they dropped that ship UA, which I'm assuming is a sort of a precursor. Yes, it was a precursor, Gareth. And so if we go for that, our crew might very well be, I mean, it could be mixed. They have different considerations and also different weaknesses for the crew. I mean, depending on the DM, if they have the stats of a zombie, just with a little extra intelligence to spice, if you lose one over the side, you lose one over the side. Also, there may not be a lot of living sailors that would want to be aboard your ship if it's crewed by a bunch of zombies, and especially if some of their zombies were people that they knew that came back from the dead after a combat. So those would be some role-playing challenges, right? You would probably have, ships of certain faiths that would hunt you down for being necromancers or for bringing back zombies or spreading pestilence. Because you may. Just because they're zombies doesn't mean you're not going to have flies. That might make the one everyone is afraid of your ship look all the better. Which we could do and go for that Day of the Dead motif. Everyone who dies aboard is actually just sort of pushed out of the wood and colored in a very colorful fashion that still celebrates death and shows death, but is also in full bloom of all sorts of colors. And again, you get the benefit. What's the drawback? You have an easily identifiable ship that could have a reputation preceding, even if it's brand new management. I don't know. They found it just floating in the sea and they swam out to it and claimed it. The ship may still have a reputation, much like the Dread Pirate Roberts. I mean, the ship probably has a bumper sticker saying that this is franchise number, 518 of Dread Pirate Roberts. I see zombies, but I enjoy the idea of revenants more. Their purpose being to serve the captain for all eternity. And Gareth, I don't know how long you've been lurking tonight. That could play into a bit, or rather, the former captain might be a revenant aboard the ship. In so much that as we were developing this ship as an NPC, we thought that perhaps this ship, the captain had a very good reputation, and sort of at the last minute, while he called out to his gods for guidance, felt betrayed by them, or he didn't get an answer in time. So instead, he invoked a fiend and sold his soul or sacrificed his crew for victory or some other condition. In which case, he is serving out a kind of a hell or like an escapable hell or a purgatory, where he is bound to the ship to try and improve the lives of people, as he died in this battle as a victor, who history lauds in the books and scrolls as a victor, right? Hero of the people, if only they knew, right? By the way, the boat is in possession of forbidden lore. If only everyone knew that everyone's naval hero had actually killed everyone on board in order to win that battle. And now he's serving out these life sentences, or he's working his time off as a semi-sentient aspect of the ship, or the like. That's why he's willing to give such a misfit crew that we generated. Because I'll tell you, not the crew, the officers. The officers we made are certainly not what you'd expect aboard a ship. They're tons of fun, though. I love imagining this ship with officers like this. Probably because I don't have to sail on it. This ship is an urchin, right? It's been rejected by others. Or it comes from a place or a people who are gone. Right? The parents, whether it's the wood, the metal, the shipwright, the laborers are gone in some way. Or it's an outcast from its own family of other ships that might have been similar. But this one was cursed. Let's see. So there's a lot of charts. Whirlpools, reefs, snow, just random encounters in the open water. If you get sucked into a whirlpool, where will it take you? More open water encounters by level, ship name, ship type. If you want to just roll up, okay, you see a ship on the horizon. It's a sailing ship, called the Royal Shark, and so you can just generate tons of content with this supplement. It's awesome. And if we really want to come up with some names, whether they're for zombies or not, there's crew member names, right? So, Gareth, roll 2d20 and let's find out what your crew member name is. Exclamation point 2d20. No space. 15, 17. So we have Gareth, Clever Angel Lorraine. Gareth, your crew member name is Clever Angel. How did you earn that name aboard the ship? Why are people calling you Clever Angel? You probably didn't suspect I'd call you out on this, huh? What, I got a roleplay and work in this channel? 2 out of 10, unsubscribed, unfollowed, uneverythinged. If someone else out there wants a sailor name, exclamation point 2d20. I took out an enemy ship by launching myself into the sky with a rope, and I descended from the light of the sun with a torch in hand to set a flame to their sails. Everyone, we have a crew member. This is why he's called Clever Angel. Oh no, I didn't suspect that. I was poking fun. Like, just, who suspects you're getting called out to roleplay in a workshop channel or something? Yeah, so I'm glad you were too, Gareth. Let's see. Tackler went to bed. Who else is out there? Oh, Sheeps, are you out there? Or, hey, Physaris, you're lurking. Rytel? Either of you out there? Hypnotic Gamer? Physaris. Please, if you don't mind, to participate here. Zulerpie beat you, but Phi, if you want to be a member on this crew, you got to get a nickname. And it would be exclamation point 2d20 to figure it out. Neo Realms is a martini. Zulerpie is 816. Zulerpie, you are Heartless Liar. What earned you the nickname aboard our ship as Heartless Liar? Because I'm salty and teachers love me, says Neo Realms. Oh, gosh. Physaris, your crew member name, this is your roleplay prompt. I want you to tell me why your name is 14-9. Wee Patches. Wee Patches. That is a margarita. Phi has an adorable name. Wee Patches. So Gareth is the clever angel, Zulurpai is the heartless liar, and Physaris is Wee Patches. Yep, you're a crew on a sailing ship, Physaris. Zulurpai is just saying that heartless liar is very suitable. Wink. In that case, the officer says, just don't lie to us and we're fine. If you're breaking hearts in port, that's on you. But try not to damage the reputation of the ship or the officers. Neo Realms wants to be an officer aboard the ship. Neo Realms, everyone on board our ship calls you 1415. Neo Realms, you're a wee devil. Physaris, because I patch all the wee leaks up. All right, so Physaris, you're on the engineering crew of the ship, and you take on all the little leaks aboard the ship. Sometimes they're not so little, but you know what? Maybe you're modest and you play it off. Phi, wee patches, we're sinking. I'm on it. Just a little leak. Meanwhile, you're like, get the plywood. Mr. Wolfie. Hello. Mr. Wolfie, would you like to be a crew member aboard our ship? If so, please type exclamation point 2D20. Gareth says, yeah, well, someone's got to fix if you burn, or someone's got to supply you the spare wood to set on fire by fixing things. Mr. Wolfie, welcome aboard. Everyone on board our ship calls you 1811, which is Lost Salt. Mr. Wolfie, why have you earned the nickname Lost Salt aboard our ship? Why is that your crew member name? Meanwhile, under the deck, rebuilding half the start of the ship. Yeah, well, you know, an engineer's job is never done, Physaris. When everyone turns into necromorphs, it'll be up to you to try and get the ship to safety. Only two things I can think of with Salt is doctor and chef stuff. Okay, sure. You want to be on the kitchen team? Or if you want to be a part of the medical crew? What earned the name Lost Salt? All I said is you're a crew member. You could, what job you want on the ship as a crew member, that's up to you. Let's clear the cobwebs. I know I put you on the spot, Wolfie, and you're amazing for picking up here. Medical, I guess. All right, so Wolfie's joining the medical team. Perhaps I use lots of salt to salt the wound, so I'm always out of it. So lost salt being like I can never find it. Has much don't that's fine. Mr. Wolfie, this is impromptu storytelling. This is great exercise. So sure, Wolfie, you're on the medical team, and you are used to putting salt in the wounds to clean them, and you seemingly go through enough of it here that people keep asking you lost salt, and that just became your name. So there we go, Mr. Wolfie. By the way, I'm not writing this down, so if any of you are taking notes, you can have some fun with this. So Wolfie's on the med team, and is sort of the nurse who treats wounds, but has earned the nickname Lost Salt. Physaris is wee patches. Meanwhile, she's below decks putting half the hull back together. Zulerpai is the heartless liar who needs no explanation. Gareth Lorraine is the clever angel, and Neo Realms was wee devil. And I don't quite know Neo Realms, so how did you earn Wee Devil as a name? I'll go to short a bargain for supplies and sell our goods. All our stuff is first class, of course it is. One fixes the rips of wood and the other of flesh. See? It's beautiful, it's poetic. And you know that if Physaris gets a splinter, you'll be there to just rub a bunch of salt in her wound. Oh, and by the way, so Gareth, you bring up some, you do bring up some interesting points. Or, I mean, there's the one, but it could expand further. We are only given 6 officer roles aboard a ship. You may end up wanting to create a higher structure. You're short so people think you're an imp? Ah, so you're playing like a gnome or a halfling or something? Or are you playing a kobold? People call you the wee devil? Don't worry, nothing salt can't fix. Salt for everything. Salt your food. Salt your water. Throw salt over your shoulder for good luck. You know, make sure, you know, you get an infection, rub salt on it. This is why he's hired to be in the medical staff. Keep me around for good luck and running errands. Ah, see, I like that. I like that as a roleplay prompt. And so, Gareth, you there's stuff like Master at Arms, and we may, if you have a ship large enough for more officers that are required, come up with this stuff, right? Use what we saw above for officers to, you know, because look, you tend to be good in a particular skill. Maybe 2. I mean, captain is 2. That's the only one with 2. You're good in a particular ability, I mean. And then you might get a skill, a skill and a tool, 2 skills, 2 tools, maybe throw in a random language. Right? We have Master at Arms. We can have a chaplain. We can have, let's see. I mean, if we don't want Bosun to sort of do double duty as like the taskmaster kind of sergeant and engineer, we could have an engineer. We could have a navigator and have quartermaster be more of a quartermaster in terms of accounting for things, right? Keeping track of the supplies. Or a navigator. Yeah, it was a quartermaster was kind of a navigator, as it was implied. Have fun with it. Explore military rankings. Explore what are the positions aboard a cruise ship, a civilian cruise ship. Oh, yeah. A purser or purser or bursar, B-U-R-S-A-R, or is it same thing but different? My Sunday food is always the best. I don't know why they won't let me cook for the ship. If it can fix wounds, it can fix food. So, Wolfie, yeah, you just have this wonderful salt collection. Here's pink salt and black salt and smoked salt, flaky salt, granular, coarse. Whatever the equivalent of kosher salt would be in our fantasy world. Just a random thought, maybe lost salt crystals often... Wait. Just a random thought. Maybe all lost salt cries often enough... Oh, lost salt as in the name. Okay. Just a random thought. Maybe lost salt, a.k.a. Mr. Wolfie, cries often enough to actually use his tears as a spice. See, that's the special. Only certain people get that. Gareth says, because fun fact, on ships it is very uncommon that the crew actually keeps their weapons on hand. They're typically kept in a weapons locker and only doled out when the Master at Arms deems it necessary. Fending off an enemy ship, dealing with or participating in a mutiny, etc. That's right, you never know what creature needs seasoning. I mean, fixing up on the high seas. Yeah, you get the pink mountain salt from those monks way up high in that one mountain. That's very very tall, very notable in our fantasy world. And Gareth is also dropping some nautical lore bombs on us for all our considerations here. Who else is out there? Volvo, are you out there lurking? Pneumonica? Cabin boy, here an old man serving the youngins. Ah, well, you know what? But he gives them wizened experience, right? He's kind of like the butler who suggests course of actions in order to save his employer's face. I'm just imagining a tall dark elf or drow in a long coat that's never been washed, shoving salt on people's wounds wildly every time there's a fight. Stop bleeding! Pack, pack, pack. You, stop bleeding! Pack, pack, pack. Volvo, if you would like a fun, random prompt, be a member of our crew. Exclamation point 2D20, please. Quartermasters usually doubled as first mates as well. Ah, see, good to know. I wonder if there's treants in that setting. Well, if so, then that'd be a lot of salt to endanger them. All right, Volvo is joining the crew, everyone, aboard this very odd kind of deathly ship. Volvo, everyone aboard the ship knows you as 1310. Volvo, you are Handsome Hook. Why are you known as Handsome Hook? Is it literal? Ironic? Is your last name Hook? Are you not even handsome and it's ironic? Or sarcastic? You can block the sun for a long time if you cover your body in salt. In order of command, captain, quartermaster, first mate, pilot, navigator, bosun, and master... Oh, by the way, that would be something else. A master gunner. Because many of the ships have ballistae, and or mangonels, which are like miniature catapults. So that could be something if you want to make your own custom officer position, that could be something else to consider. Thank you, Gareth. Yes, Handsome Hook, Wolfie. Sounds like a Peter Pan will be next. Or is just the hook handsome, says Fi? I guess he lost a hand. Surgeon used too much salt on it. Then you have Sailmaster, Carpenter, Cook, Surgeon, and Master at Arms. Gareth, if you don't already have this content, this is an excellent thing for you to produce. Or if you want to collaborate or kind of come up with your own sort of accented material. The rest of the ship usually fits in the categories of brutes, gunners, swabbies, and musicers. Yep, you always got to have your bard. Someone's got to play the squeeze box or the mouth harp, or can just sing and clap and caper about the deck. And so, Gareth, because you do have this this knowledge of organizational, I would love to see your take, sort of as an accent to the content here. How would you expand something like... let's go up. All right, for a sailing ship. A sailing ship, they recommend, has a captain and 4 officers, a first mate, bosun, and quartermaster and cook, and then 25 sailors. Whereas a warship would have also a surgeon aboard, like a dedicated surgeon, not just someone who, you know, uses their pliers to get out nails in the hull and also, you know, broken fingernails or splinters. And so to go through something like the sailing ship, now the rowboat probably is not going to have a high command structure, but, you know, the keel boat and such, right? Example, longship crew, a captain and 5 others, and then 34 sailors. If we put in these either secondary officers or more officers, how would the 34 sailors be split up on the crew? Now, you know, Saltmarsh is keeping things as simple as possible, because that's the consideration for 5th edition. You can make it more complex if you want. Here's the basic idea. Tweak it, customize it, homebrew it, have fun with it from there. It is 5e shtick, exactly. Too much salt never hurt anybody, Zuler Pie. If the hand wasn't removed, who knows what kind of octopus would have grown in his arm. Wait, octopus? I mean, leeches. Yes, leeches. That's what it was. The treant question came up because maybe Wee Patches has some treant ancestry. Ah, okay. So, you're partially vegetative, and not just because you're a lazy carpenter. That could be. Physaris. Volvo says, you see, my last name is Hook, but the true reason they call me Handsome Hook is because the last time we were in port, I ended up causing a great commotion with all the brothels, ultimately getting banned from all of them. It truly was a noteworthy escapade. So there we go, everyone. You all have been kind of jovially ribbing Volvo here, calling him Handsome Hook, as apparently the last time you were in port, good old Hook had himself a grand old time. Would anyone else out there like to be aboard the ship and join the crew? We could probably do 1 or 2 more others before I got to take another break here and stretch. Pirates used to actually put on plays on long voyages because they didn't have anything better to do. The most common thing to do is to put one of the crew members on a mock trial where people charge them with crimes that would get increasingly more exaggerated. It would end in an overly dramatic, played-out death by the accused or an escape into the rigging. That's really cool, Gareth. I love learning this stuff. You suspect the surgeon has a nickname of Epsom. Ozzy, are you out there? Ozzy, can you hear me? Grimvex, are you still around? Daily, are you out there? Breakfast is done. What did I miss? Grimvex, join our crew! Exclamation point 2D20. No spaces. Two and 10. Grimvex, everyone aboard the ship calls you Ol Hook. O-L apostrophe Hook. Why is your name among the crew members Ol Hook? Are you Volvo's dad? If so, are you proud of your son or ashamed of him? Or is this something else? Why are you known as Ol Hook? My nickname is Trust Me, as I say this often. I like it, Ziller Pie. Hark, join our crew. I want you to type exclamation point 2D20. Hop aboard the ship. Come on. I want you to tell me what you do aboard the ship and why you got this nickname. Are you on the medical team, engineering? Are you a swabby? Are you a gunner? All right, Hark, everyone aboard our ship calls you Golden Liar. Golden Liar. Why is that? We also have Heartless Liar, who's Zulerpai. Why are you known as Golden Liar? And Grimvex is trying to come up with a reason why everyone on board calls him Ol Hook. Maybe it's his Golden Liar, but it got misspelled. Oh, so we do have a music maker. Maybe some of the sailors don't know how to spell too well. Trust me, says Zulerpai. Yes. Or should I call you Iprolux? All these names are so amazing. This is so much fun.